It is January 15th. It's 4:38 in the morning. We're going to do 20 minutes. I already did the timer. We're about to go right now. Introduction. Much like nature, life is very, very often working in our favor. Even when it seems like we are only being faced with adversity, discomfort, and change, as forest fires are instant to the ecologically. Hold on real quick. I'm already struggling. Hold on. Hold on. How do I say this? Hold on. Yeah, here it is. Ecology. Ecology. Okay. As forest fires are essence to ecology of the environment, open new seeds that require heat to sprout and rebuild a population of trees. Our minds are also go through a period episodes of positive disintegration or cleansing through which we release and renew our self-concept. We know that nature is most fertile and expansive at its perimeters where the climates meet. We also transfer when we reach our edges to states, the points at which we are forced to step out of our comfort zones and regroup. When we can no longer rely on coping mechanisms to help distract us from the problems in our lives, it can feel as though we hit rock bottom. The reality is this is the sort of awakening is what happens when we finally come to terms with the problems that we have exist for a long time. The breakdown is often just the tipping point that precises the breakthrough, the moment a star implodes before it becomes a supernova. Sorry about that. Just as a mountain is formed when two sections of the ground are forced against one another, your mountains will arise out of coexisting but conflict needs. Your mountain requires you to reconcile two parts of you, the consciousness and the unconscious, the part of you that is aware of what you want, the part of you that is not aware of why you're still holding yourself back. Hold on. Right, I'm looking this up. Hold on. Historically, mountains have been used as metaphors for spiritual awakenings, journeys of personal growth, and of course, the insurmountable challenges that seem impossible to overcome when we are sitting at the bottom. Like so much of nature, mountains provide us with an inherent wisdom about what it would take to rise up to our highest potential. The object of being human is to grow. We see this reflected back to us in every part of life. Species reproduce, DNA evolves to eliminate certain strands, develop new ones, and the edges of the universe are expanding forward outward. Likewise, our ability to feel the depth and the beauty of life is capable of spinning forever inward. If we are willing to take our problems and see them as... Hold on. I see another word. Hold on. I'm gonna say this wrong. Hold on, I'm looking up. I think catalytic, but I want to just make sure I say this right. Catalyst. Hold on. I see it. I see them as catalyst. Forests need fire to do this. Volcanoes need implosions. In, I think I said that wrong too. Hold on. Implosions? Hold on. Hold on. Another one. Hold on. Volcanoes need implosions. Implosions. Volcanoes need implosions. Stars need collapse. Human beings often need to be faced with no other option but to change before they really do. To have a mountain in front of you does not mean you're fundamentally broken in some way. Everything is natural, is imperfect. It is because of the imperfection that the growth is possible. If everything exists in a on uniform uniformity, the gravity that created the stars and planets, everything that we know will not exist. Without breaks, faults, and gaps, nothing can grow, nothing will become. The fact that you are imperfect is not a sign that you have failed. It is a sign that you're human. More importantly, it's a sign you still have more potential within you. Maybe you know what your mountain is. Maybe it's adversity. Maybe it's addiction, weight, relationships, jobs, motivation, money. Maybe you don't. Maybe it's a vague sense of anxiety, low self-esteem, fear, or general discontentment that seems to bleed out onto everything else. The mountain is often less a challenge in front of us as it is a problem within us. An unstable foundation that might not seem evident on the surface, but is nonetheless, shifting almost every part of our lives. Usually, when we have a problem that is circumstances, hold on, say that word wrong too. Looking it up. Don't care. Do not care. How to pronounce that? Hold on. Need to pronounce. Hold on. No, I just want to know how to say that. All right here. Circumstantial. Okay. That we have a problem that is circumstantial, we are facing the reality of life. When we have a problem that is chronic, not ironic, but chronic. I think I said it right. Chronic? I feel like I didn't say that right. Chronic. Hold on. Chronic. I think I didn't say this right. Hold on real quick. Chronic. I don't think I said that right. Let me see. Chronic. Okay, yeah, I did. That is chronic. We are facing the reality of ourselves. We often think that to face a mountain means to face life hardships. The truth is that it's almost always because of the years we have spent acclimating tiny traumas, adaptations, and coping mechanisms, all which have compound over time. Your mountain is the block between you and the life you want to live. Facing it is also the only path to face your freedom, becoming. You are here because a trigger showed you to your wound. Your wound will show you to your path. Your path will show you to your destiny. When you arrive at this breaking point, the foot of the mountain, the heat of the fire, the night that finally wakes you, you are at the cruise of the breakdown. You are willing to do the work. You find that entirely the entryway to the breakthrough you have spent your entire life waiting for. Your own self can no longer sustain the life you're trying to lead. It's time for reinvention and rebirth. You must release your own self into the fire of the vision. Be willing to think in a way you have never even tried before. You must mourn the loss of your younger self, the person who has gotten you this far, but who is no longer equipped to carry you onward. You must envision and become the one with your future self, the hero of your life that is going to lead you from here to lead you from here. The task in front of you is silent, simple, and monumental. It is a future most do not ever get to the point of acceptance. You must now learn agility, resilience, and self-understanding. You must change completely, and never to be the same. The mountain that stands in front of you is the calling of your life, your purpose for being here. Your path finally made clear. One day this mountain will be behind you, but you, becoming the process of getting over it, will stay will always. In the end, it is not the mountain that you must master, but yourself. Chapter 1. The mountain is you. There's nothing holding you back in life more than yourself. If there's an ongoing gap between where you are and where you want to be, and your efforts to close it are constantly met with your own resistance, pain, and discomfort, self-sabotage is almost always at the work. On the surface, self-sabotage seems mess. Another word I don't know how to say. You're gonna learn how to say that. Masochist? Masochist? Oh, masochist. Oh, masochist. Okay. Self-sabotage seems masochist. It appears to be the product of self-hatred, low confidence, or a lack of willpower. In reality, self-sabotage is simply the presence of an unconscious need that is being fulfilled by self-sabotage behavior. To overcome this, we must go through a progress of deep psychologically evaluation. We must pinpoint the traumatic event, release unprocessed emotions, find healthier ways to meet our needs, reinvent our self-image, and to develop principles such as emotional intelligence and resilience. It is no small task, and yet it is the work that all of us must do at some point or other. Self-sabotage is not always obvious at onset. When Carl June was a child, he fell on the ground in school. He hit his head. When he got hurt, he thought to himself, yes, maybe I won't have to go back to school now. Though he is known today for his insight body of work, he actually didn't like school or fit well with his peers. Shortly after his accident, June began to experience sporadic, uncontrollable fading spells. He unconsciously developed what he will call as no Norris. Hold on. We're gonna learn to say this word. I'm taking my time. Neurosis. Okay. Neurosis. He unconsciously developed what he would call neurosis. Ultimately came to realize neurosis, all the neuroses are substitutes for legitimate suffering. In June's case, he made an unconscious associate between fading and getting out of school. He came to believe that fading spells were just a manifestation of his unconscious desire to get out of class, but he felt uncomfortable and unhappy. Likewise, for many people, their fears and challenges are very often just symptoms of deeper issues for which they do not have any better way to cope. Self-sabotage is a coping mechanism. Self-sabotage is what happens when we refuse to consciously meet our innermost needs, often because we do not believe we are capable of handling them. Sometimes we sabotage our relationships because we really want to find ourselves through. We are afraid to be alone. Sometimes we sabotage our professional success because we really want is to create art, even if it will make us seem less ambitious by the social measurements. Sometimes we sabotage our healing journey by psychology analyzing our feelings because doing so ensures we avoid actually experiencing them. Sometimes we sabotage our self-talk because we believe in ourselves and we feel free to get back out in the world and take risks, and that would leave us vulnerable. In the end, self-sabotage is very often just a maladaptive coping mechanism, a way we give ourselves what we need without having to actually address what that need is. But like any coping mechanism, It's just that a way to cope. It's not an answer, it's not a solution. It does not ever truly solve the problem. We're merely numbing our desires, giving ourselves a little taste of temporary relief. Self sabotage comes from irrational fear. Sometimes our most sabotage behaviors are really the result of long held and unexamined fears we have about the world or ourselves. Perhaps it's the idea that you're unintelligent, unattractive, or disliked. Perhaps it's the idea of losing a job, taking an elevator, or committing to a relationship. In other cases, it could be more abstract, such as the concept of someone coming to get you, violating your boundaries, getting caught, or being wrongly accused. These beliefs become attachments over time. For most people, the abstract fear is really really a representation of a legitimately fear, because it will be too scared to actually dwell on the real fear. We project these feelings onto issues or circumstances that are less likely to occur. If the situation has a extreme low likelihood of becoming reality, it has therefore become a safe thing to worry about, because subconsciously we already know it is it we already know it isn't going to happen. Therefore, we have a avenue to express our feelings without actually in endangering ourselves. For example, if you are someone who's deeply afraid of being a passenger in a car, maybe your real fear is the loss of a control or idea that someone or something else is controlling your life. Perhaps the fear is of moving forward and the moving car is simply a representation represent rep represent representation represent rep representation representation of that. If you are aware of the real issue, you could begin working to resolve it, perhaps by identifying the ways you are giving up your power being too passive. However, if you are aware of your real problem, you continue to spend your time trying to convince your ego to not be triggered and anxiety while riding the car, finding it only gets worse. If you try to fix the problem on the surface, it will always come up against a wall. That's because you're trying to rip off a band-aid before you have a strategy to heal your wound. Self-sabotage comes from unconscious negative associations. Self-sabotage is also one of the first signs that your inner narrative is outdated, limited, or simply incorrect. Your life is defined not only by what you think about it, but also what you think of yourself. Your self-concept is the idea that you have spent your whole life building. It's created by piecing together inputs, influences for those around you, what your parents believe, what your peers thought, what you become self-evident through your personal experience, and so on. Your self-image is difficult to adjust because your brain confirmation bias works to affirm your pre-existing beliefs about yourself. When we self-sabotage, it's often because we have a negative association between achieving the goal we aspired to and being the kind of person who has or does that thing. Your issue that if you want to be financially stable, yet you keep ruining every effort you make to get there, you have to go back to your first concept of money. How did your parents manage their finance? More importantly, what did they tell you? What did they tell you about people who had it and people who didn't? Many people who struggle financially would just let their place by disvaluing money as a whole. They say that all rich people are terrible, but if you grew up with the people who told you your entire life that people who have money are this way, guess what? Guess what you're going to resist having. Your anxiety is around your anxiety are around the issue that your self-sabotaging is actually a reflection of your limited belief. Maybe you associate being healthy with being vulnerable because you had a parent who was perfectly healthy, and then when they suddenly fell ill, maybe you aren't writing your mag mag magnum opus because you really didn't want to write. You just wanted to be seen as successful because that will get you praise, which is typical because people wrote to when they want accept acceptation, but haven't got it. Maybe you keep eating the wrong foods because they smooth you, but you haven't stopped to ask what they have keep smoothing you from. Maybe you really are pessimistic, but you don't know how to connect with people in your life other than by complaining to them. In order to reconcile this, you have to begin challenging these pre-existing ideas and adopt new ones. You have to be able to recognize not everyone with money is corrupted, not by a long shot. Even more importantly, given that there are people who use their money in selfish ways, it is more important that good people with good intentions are fearless in pursuit of occurring this instant, no, not instant, but this valuable. Hold on. Before we're done, hold on. I'm almost done. Hold on for today. I'm finishing this paragraph. We out. Bro, I'm trying to. I can't even hear you say it. Essential. This essential tool to create more time, opportunity, wellness for themselves and others. You have to recognize being healthy makes you less vulnerable and not more that criticism, criticism. I think I'm saying this wrong. Hold on. We're over 20, but I'm trying to make sure I know how to say these words. Essential tool. Criticism comes with creating anything for the public and isn't a reason to not do. But you have to show yourself that there are many different ways to self-smooth that are more effective than unhealthy food choices that are that are far better ways to connect with others than through negativity. Once you begin to real question and observe these pre-existing beliefs, you begin to see how warped and logically that they were all along, not to mention distantly holding you back from your ultimate potential. And that's it for today. My 20 minutes is a little bit over. Appreciate you. And we'll be back again, man. Y'all keep being safe, keep reading, and if you got any words you're looking at, go look it up and pronounce it. That's what I had to do a few times when I was struggling words. I'm going to make sure and read them out loud and make sure I hear what they're saying so I can pronounce it right. So we'll be back again. Y'all keep live life. God is good all the time. And I'm out.